Hello, I'm Lucy. This is my book, The Salvager's Quest. Chapter 1. It was a hot summer's night in Healesville, a small town in Australia, where two sisters, Stella and Dot, lived with their parents and a pet rabbit that raced around the living room and ate the curtains. It was past the girls' bedtime and they were supposed to be asleep, but instead, 9-year-old Dot sat on her bed while her 12-year-old sister, Stella, laid out items from her doctor's bag. Stella wanted to be a vet, and so she practiced bandaging things whenever she could. No one in the Peters household was ever quite sure what they'd find under all the bandaged objects lying around the house, and Mrs. Peters wished she didn't have to unwrap so many things just to find her car keys. This evening, as many evenings before, it was Dot's turn to be bandaged. Stella held one end of the gauze against her little sister's forehead and started wrapping it around and around her head, squashing her dark curly hair onto her face and into her eyes. "Can't see," said Dot. "I know, dear, you've had a nasty accident," replied Stella in her doctor's voice. "Can't I have a nasty accident on my arm for once? It's really dark in here, and hot and tickly." Stella sighed. Sometimes it was really exhausting being an amazing vet. "Okay, fine. A nasty accident on your arm. Maybe 2 arms and a leg?" "Deal," said Dot, who was used to haggling with her sister, but not getting better at it. Stella had the bandage and Dot yawned and rubbed her eyes. Stella felt sorry for her. Maybe this patient could wait until the morning. When she'd put everything back in her doctor's bag, Stella looked at her sleeping sister, whose gangly legs were about to fall out of the bed, and nipped across the room to stick them back in. Then she changed into her matching PJs and hopped into her own bed, where she fell asleep thinking about how frustrating it was that she still hadn't caught and bandaged the rabbit. Teddies rolled off beds as the girls tossed and turned. The clock in their bedroom ticked. Their fairy lights blinked. Stella and Dot were awoken by a thud on the roof. "What was that?" asked Dot, sitting bolt upright in her bed, her dark hair so knotted in her sleep that curls stuck out at every angle. "I don't know," replied Stella, her own mess of blonde curls also looking very badly indeed. It was too big to be a possum. Her alarm clock said 11:13 p.m. The house was quiet and all was dark. She opened their bedroom window to have a look. Nothing stirred in the garden except for the sound of the crickets. But then the girls heard what sounded like a bird talking. It went something like this: "Squawk, hurry up, buck, 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 tweet," and it came from the roof. The girls climbed out of the window and onto the rose-covered trellis, something that they did often to look at the stars. But this evening, as the girls peered over the gutter, they gasped at an extraordinary sight. A huge wooden ship sat on rubber cushions, a tall mast leading firstly to a crow's nest and then a giant hot air balloon. "Bok, bok, bok," said the strangest bird they'd ever seen. He had the body of a brown chicken, a black neck, a multicoloured beak, and a chicken's red comb on top of his head. "Good evening, Stella and Dot, I presume," squawked the bird. The girls gulped in unison. The balloon started to deflate. "My name is Gus. A pleasure to meet you." The girls looked at each other and then back at the odd talking bird. "Word of your many good deeds and kindness to animals has reached Planet Beatrice. As a result, the council believe you two are exactly what's needed to save the animals." "Save what animals?" asked Stella. "And what is Planet Beatrice?" "Beatrice is a most beautiful planet, slightly to the left of Pluto. It's a sanctuary for animals that are in danger of becoming extinct. The council will explain further when we arrive. Actually, we really should be leaving quite soon. May I help you aboard?" And with that, the little bird extended a wing. "Okay," said Dot without hesitating. No." Stella could think of a million reasons why this might not be okay. "Are you crazy? Mum would kill us. That is, if the dodgy ship doesn't first." "I can assure you it's expertly crafted," said the strange bird as the girls continued to argue. "He says it's ex-crafted," said Dot earnestly. "You don't even know what that means." "Yes, I do. It means there's a huge ship with a hot air balloon that's managed to fly from another planet and land on our roof. I'd say that's quite impressive." "I'm going to get Mum and Dad." Oh no, dear girl, I'm sorry. No grown-ups must know. It would endanger all of the animals." "You see? I thought you want to save animals. It's literally the only thing you talk about," pleaded Dot. Stella watched her wiggle her nose and move her eyebrows up and down and knew she was trying not to cry. In truth, Stella was still a bit cross with her parents for not letting her keep a tiger snake she'd found yesterday. "Of course I want to help animals," she sighed and looked at Gus. "You're going into space. Don't you need a rocket?" "Oh, no, they take too long and bits fall off them. Very messy." "So just how long would this trip take? We'd have to be back before Mum and Dad get up." "I promise you, dear girls, this wouldn't take very long at all. It's very fast. You'll be back before breakfast." Stella tended not to trust things straight away. She'd got a magician's box in Christmas a few years ago and knew all the tricks. But for some strange reason, she just trusted this funny-looking little bird. She felt she had to go with him. "All right then," she said, smiling. "Let's go." "Yippee!" said Dot, and nearly fell off the roof. "Ugh, be careful." Stella rolled her eyes, grabbed her sister's hand, and helped her climb up the plank and onto the ship. Gus flew up to the crow's nest, opened his beak, made a strange sort of rumbling sound, and out shot some flames. The flames lit a wick, which lit a fire, which heated the air and filled the deflating hot air balloon until its billowy sides were as wide as their house and as tall as a tree. The bird looked very proud of himself indeed, until a small puff of wind escaped from his tail feathers, and then he looked rather sheepish. Cough, bok bok, said the bird as he cleared his throat. "What a strange noise. Must be the frogs." "What frogs?" said an amazed Dot, at which point 20 frogs emerged from the hold of the ship and started untying ropes, deflating landing cushions, and releasing the handbrake. "Hold on tight," shouted Gus, and the girls clung to the side of the ship as it smoothly rose from the roof. Dot looked over the side of the ship at her house above and said, "Oh look, that's where all my tennis balls are." Higher and higher the ship-cum balloon flew until the house was just a speck far below them. The heat of the night started to cool the higher they got. "What kind of a ship is this?" Stella shouted up to the crow's nest as Dot looked over the side and then up to the sky in astonishment. "This is the Salvager," said Gus most proudly. "Isn't she tremendous?" "The Salvager," repeated Dot, scanning the ship in amazement. She certainly was tremendous. The base of the hot air balloon glowed with the light from the fire, and the rest of the balloon was magnificent midnight blue that seemed to have stars in its lining twinkling as she flew. "I've never seen a boat like it," said Dot. "Oh, she's one of a kind," replied the bird. "The propellers suck in gravity, spin it around a bit, and use it to propel us forward. They were so fast that the ship disappears from human sight, which is very handy with all the secret missions it does. Yes, we're all very grateful for the Salvager." Australia was far away now, and the girls squeezed one another's hands. "I'm a bit scared, Stella," said Dot to her sister, and for once Stella was unsure too. But then the frogs began to sing while they worked, their cheeks puffing out like balloons, and when they exhaled a beautiful sound filled the air. First, a high-pitched noise came from a frog on the ship's mast. It sounded like a child singing in a choir. Da-da-da-da. Then a lower note came from another frog, like a rolling of your tongue. Rat-ta-tat-tat-tat. And then an incredible sound as from a frog standing close to them as he tied one of the ship's ropes around a post. The noise was so low, it was like the rumbling of thunder, the words from a language the girls had never heard before. Sow-dow-dow. Stella swallowed and wished the song would never end. Nothing had ever made her feel like this before, like she and the frogs and the stars around her were somehow connected. She felt like she was part of something much bigger than just her hometown. A frog wearing a two-cornered hat hopped over to the girls and handed them a blanket. "That's Nelson," said Gus. "I think he just winked at us," said Stella, watching his face suspiciously. "Oh, good," replied Gus. "That means he likes you." Dot shrugged at her big sister. It was too late to be finding singing, winking frogs strange. It wasn't too long before they were leaving Earth's atmosphere, when gravity pulled the ship down with a sudden jolt. The girls clung onto the ship, but the frogs were prepared and quickly put the ship into second gear. Sparks flew out from its propellers, and the ship whizzed upwards even faster than before. Soon planets zipped past. There were orange ones and blue ones with stripes and ones with rings, and the stars, millions of piercingly bright dots in a sky that changed from black to purple to blue. "This is incredible," said Stella under her breath. She wished she had a camera or her diary and a pen. Her face got very serious, trying to remember every detail. Dot, on the other hand, had fallen fast asleep. Stella put her arm around her. As excited as she was, she hoped she wasn't about to get them into trouble.